We begin today the Gemara on Daf Nun Tes, 6 lines down from the top of the Yamud, Rab Chiya bar Abba. The Gemara here brings an incident with Rab Chiya bar Abba that will connect to the point that we're speaking about before regarding halachis of Yayin Nesach. Sagt the Gemara, Rab Chiya bar Abba, Ikla legavla. Rab Chiya bar Abba found himself in the city called Gavla. So he saw there 3 things. Chaza, the first thing he saw is B'nais Yisrael de Ma'abrim Ha'ivdi Kechavim Shemalu V'loi Tovu. He saw that the Jewish girls there were getting married to so-called Gadim, and they were getting pregnant from these Gadim, but they weren't really Gadim because they only had a bris, but they didn't have the tefillah for Gadus. And if you're missing that tefillah, then you're not a ger, as Gemara will soon explain. The second thing you saw, Chaza Chamera de Mazga the Kechavim, you saw wine that the Goyim are mixing the water with the wine, they're diluting it and preparing it. Vishasi Yisrael, and Yidden are drinking from this wine. And the third thing you saw was Chaza Tormasa, you saw Tormasa, which is a kind of beans, the Shalkulu the Kechavim, that the Goyim are cooking this, and Vachli Yisrael, and the Yidden are eating from these beans that the Goyim cooked. V'layamalu v'lay midi. Rab Chiya bar Abba didn't say anything to them about these 3 points. Now, Asila Kamei Rabbi Yechanan, he came back to Rabbi Yechanan and reported to him what it is that he saw. Amalei, Rabbi Yechanan told him, say, go out, go back there, v'hachreis, and 3 things. Number 1, v'hachreis al b'neim, announce regarding the children, shehem mamzedim, that the children that are born are not good children, not valid children, they're mamzedim. We'll see, Gemara will explain. Val yenon, and then announce regarding their wine, mishum yayin nesach, that their wine that they're drinking from the goyim that are diluting the wine for them, it's yayin nesach. It's forbidden for them to drink. And also announce at val turmisin that the beans that they're eating, the goyim are cooking for them, mishum bishulei oivdei kechavim, that it's bishalakim. They're eating bishalakim, which is the gzeira of chachamim not to eat from what a goy cooks. And now the Gemara here adds that the last point that Rabbi Yechanan told him to announce was mishum she'enan b'nei Torah. Only because they were not b'nei Torah, they were amaratzim, and therefore he didn't want them to be lenient in these things. So therefore he told them to say that they shouldn't eat from what the goyim are cooking for them. But really, as the Gemara will soon explain regarding this point, min adin, it would have been mutter to them to eat these beans that the goyim were cooking for them. Okay, so the Gemara now will explain all 3 points here that Rabbi Yechanan said to announce. Says the Gemara, al b'nei and shem mamzeirim. Rabbi Yechanan said to announce that the children are mamzeirim. Why mamzeirim? Says the Gemara, 2 points. Rabbi Yechanan l'taimei, Rabbi Yechanan follows his opinion. Because number 1, Rabbi Yechanan said, La'olam eina ger ad sheyimal v'yitpal. A ger is not a full ger until 2 things. There has to be mila, the bris mila, and also tefillah. So there's actually machloikas about this in the Gemara and Yevamis, in the Sugi of Geras. There is an opinion that says that you could be a ger just with mila without tefillah, but Rabbi Yechanan says you need both. So if you keep in the late tavel, since these girls there in this city of Gavla, they were marrying these Gadim that were not really Gadim because they didn't go to the mikveh, so therefore they're married to Goyim, and the children that are being born is from this marriage to Goyim. Now there's another point that Rabbi Yechanan said, V'omar, again?
The mother's a Jew.
V'omar, Rabbi Bar Bachana, Rabbi Yechanan, and additionally, Rabbi Bar Bachana said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Oivik Kechavim ve'eved, Haba Bas Yisrael, a Goy or Eved Kanani, that has a relation with a Bas Yisrael, with a Jewish girl, Avlad Mamzer. Rabbi Yechanan's opinion is that the child is a Mamzer. Now we don't paskin like Rabbi Yechanan, that's why you're wondering. But according to Rabbi Yechanan, as long as it's a relationship where Kiddushin is not Taifis, Kiddushin does not take effect, that's the rule that decides that the child will be a Mamzer. A Jewish girl that gets married to a guy, there's no Kiddushin that takes effect. So since there's no Kiddushin, the child's a Mamzer. But we don't paskin like Rabbi Yechanan. We paskin that only if there's a relationship like an Eishes Ish or a Chi of Kodesh, there the child is a mamzer. But over here, there's an Ister. The Kedushin doesn't take effect, but it's not a Chi of Kodesh. So the child is not a mamzer. The child is a fully kosher Yid, according to the way we paskin. But Rabbi Yechanan paskin that the child is a mamzer, according to his opinion. That's the point that Rabbi Yechanan said here. Okay, the next thing. V'gozer al yenam mishum yayin nesach. And also, you should tell them regarding their wine, that, or the word gazer, the Bach takes out, but regarding this that he said that their wine is yayin nesach. Why is he saying the wine is yayin nesach? The question on this is, what were the Goyim doing? The Goyim were just diluting the wine for the Yidden, which means the guy never touched the wine. He's just pouring water into the wine. We had before in the Gemara and Daf Nun Ches, this is what's called koichai. The guy is not touching the wine itself. It's just the water. Usually, if the guy touches the wine itself, he puts his hand inside. That's called shichshuch, and he agitates the water. That makes it aser bahana. But if here he's just pouring water, which stirs the wine, which is diluting the wine, that's called kaicha. The Gemara said before, and it's shalei b'chavana. He's not doing it for any kavana of Avoda Zara. So why should it be aser bahana or aser? He said it should be like yayin nesach aser bahana. So the Gemara says that al yenam mishum yayin nesach. The reason is it's an extra chumrah. Like the Gemara already mentioned this before. Mishum leich omrin nizira. We tell a nazir that is not allowed to drink wine, go away from this place. Schar, go around lekarmel sikra. Don't get close to this vineyard, because he's not allowed to eat from the grapes or drink from the wine. So there's an extra chumrah and a siyag that he shouldn't get close to the vineyard. So here as well, be'emes ikar adin, this is mutter. But because you're getting used to having a guy pour wine for you or dilute the wine for you, so this could then lead to something else. That the guy will touch the wine or even be meshachshech his hands in the wine. So therefore, this is aser as well. And the third thing, mishum bishulei oivdei kechavim, and then regarding bishul akum, he said that they can't eat from these beans that the goyim were cooking lefisha einam b'nei Torah. And the only reason he was machmer, this was actually a chumrah because they were not b'nei Torah. So the Gemara explains, what does this mean? Time einam b'nei Torah. The only reason he was machmer, they shouldn't eat from this bishul akum, is because they're not b'nei Torah. Ha b'nei Torah shari. But if they were b'nei Torah, so then me'ikar adin, this would be allowed. Why? Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak said, as we learned earlier in the Masechta about this, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav, kol shenechel kamoy shehu chai, anything that you could eat raw, then ein boy mishum mishulei kechavim. Then there's no issue of bishul akum. But if it's something that cannot be eaten raw, so then a guy that cooks it for you, so you're relying on the guy to prepare the food for you, that's the Issa Chachamim made for Bishul Akum Mishum Chasnas, that you shouldn't come to have a relation with Goyim. A guy invites you to his meals and he serves you this food. And so the tormison, these are beans that actually have to be very well cooked. The Gemara says in a few places that it needs very strong cooking in order for it to be soft, to be edible. So then how could we say that the Meikar Adin, this would be mutter to eat? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yechanan ki hachlish nesvirale. There's another point there that Rabbi Yechanan holds, like there's another lashon that was said in the name of Rav, the Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Amar Rav, that kol she'eina oila shulchan shel malachim, any food that's not served by a table of kings or by a table of nobility, by choshev people, lalafis by a sapas, to eat together with bread, ein by mishum bishulei oivdi kechavim. There's no iser of bishul akum. So all kinds of different foods that are just eaten as a snack, or if it's not a food that's served at a regular meal where you're serving a 3-course meal. In such kind of foods, the halacha of bishul akum does not apply. And therefore, over here, these tormis and these beans was not a kind of food that was served on a table of nobility. So therefore, Taime, the Eina B'nei Torah. The only reason why he asked it for them is because they weren't B'nei Torah, because if you're gonna allow them to eat this, they may then come to eat from Goyim, even things that are not allowed. But Ha B'nei Torah, if they were B'nei Torah and we could rely on them on understanding the difference, Shari, then it would be allowed.
These husbands couldn't be B'nai Torah anyways.
The husbands were Goyim, right. But we're talking about the girls and the Yidden that were there.
In this case, the food that belongs to the lady in the house.
Yeah. Okay.
So who does B'nai Torah mean?
There is no B'nai Torah. They're not B'nai Torah.
Their fathers were B'nai Torah, so the daughters
children, right?
No.
Yeah.
They weren't passed on the chacham.
Yeah, we're talking about the Yidden there in the city.
What are you accomplishing by putting a hummus on them when the MS they didn't do anything wrong?
Okay, so apparently
they were ready. That's why now you're going to do it.
Apparently they were ready to be taught. If it would be a situation where there's nothing, they were ready to be taught. They were not B'nai Torah, but
so
they were
receptive.
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently. Dr. Gemara by my name Rav Kahana. The following shaila was asked from Rav Kahana. Could you hire a guy not to work for you in the wine press itself? There could be an issue. The guy will touch the wine. He'll make it asa to drink, or even furthermore, it could be make it asa bahana. But you're just hiring this guy to help you deliver the grapes from the vineyard to the wine press. What's the basis of the shaila? Rashi here does not explain, but Tosfos here has a big arichas about this. The bottom, the very last line from Rashbam and Tosfos himself. has two pirushim about what exactly the shaila of the Gemara is. The Rashbam says the Gemara's shaila is when he carries these grapes, even before you bring it to the wine press, the grapes in the basket already gets crushed together to some extent, and there's already wine that's dripping from the grapes. And therefore the guy that's holding these grapes and he's touching the wine that's dripping on it, maybe that should be enough of a reason that it should be aser. Even though we learned before in the Gemara that the isser of the guy touching the wine is only in the wine press once the wine flows out of it's already flowing in the wine press. Before it flows, there's really no problem. But the shaila is, are we going to be machmer to say that even before it's in the wine, flowing in the wine press, the wine in the basket is already enough of reason that Chachamim were geyser that even this the guy should not help a yid with? That's the Rashbam's pshat that Taisus brings. Taisus, however, says that mitzad that there's no problem. When the Gemara here asks this shaila about the guy delivering the grapes from the vineyard to the wine press, it means that the guy doesn't just deliver it. The guy then empties it out into the wine press. So when the guy empties it out into the wine press, so then he's emptying it there into the place where the wine is flowing. So there's more of a chash that he's actually going to be touching the wine that's flowing in the wine press. That's the basis of the Gemara shaila. Are we guys for this? Amalahu, so Rav Kahana answered, aser, that it's aser. And the reason is, like we said before, even if me'ikra din, you would say that you could technically say the guy is not touching the wine in a place where it would be aser, but still, Chachamim were guys on this as well. Mishum lech omrin nazira, we say to a nazir, go away from this place. Schar lekarmel sichra, go around, do not get close to the vineyard. So regarding this as well, don't hire a guy to do work for you in the vineyard. So Rav Yemer asks Rav Kahana about this. There's a brayse where it speaks about this seemingly. The brayse says, a guy that delivered the grapes in baskets to the vineyard. Or ube dudarin, that's the gersa, or on the side of the dardurin, which is in small buckets. He's baskets. He's delivering the grapes. Even if the grapes in these baskets already has wine, that's grapes juice that's coming out of the grapes, mutter. It's mutter to use this wine. So you see over here that we're not geyser. We're not going to say that this is an extra siyag, extra precaution that you should not use this wine. Amalei, so Rav Kahana answered, "Hey, vikamris, you're bringing me the brayse over here that is speaking about the wine that comes from these grapes that the guy delivered from the vineyard to the wine press. That b'diavad, once this happened, then once the guy did this, it'll be mutter. Ana l'chatchila ka'amina. I was saying what the halacha is l'chatchila. Before the fact, don't hire a guy to do this work. Because of the extra chumrah, lech, we tell the person should stay away, not to have a guy even do this work. But b'diavad, if the guy did do this work, then it'll be mutter. It's interesting because this concept of lech, this extra siyag, before when the Gemara brought it up, the Gemara actually was bringing it up even b'diavad. Before the Gemara was speaking about a case where the guy was diluting the wine. That's what we had before. On Daf Nun Ches as well, and there it said the same svara that we tell the guy to stay away, or that we tell the yid to stay away from such kind of wine. Over there, the kavan of the Gemara was to say that it's also even b'diavad. Here, though, regarding this, Rav Kahana is saying, although I'm applying the same chumrah to stay away from something that could lead to yayin nesach, but over here it's only lechatchila. Okay, so the Gemara now brings another story that happened. Ahu esrege, the nafal lechavite de chamra. There was a esrik that fell into a barrel of wine. Idri oivekachavim. So this guy that was standing there jumped up. And v'shakle, he stuck his hand into the barrel of wine to grab this esrig before it sinks down to the bottom of the barrel. So now the question is, the guy stuck his hand into the barrel of wine. What's the halacha with this wine? Now the wine is definitely going to be usher to drink, because as soon as the guy touches the wine, it's usher to drink. The shaila is though, will it be usher to have a anah from it? Could you still use it, sell it to a guy? Because he didn't stick his hand into the wine for any purpose of Avoda Zara or for anything, or even to be meshachshich, to agitate his hand inside. He stuck it in to get out the esrei. We had before when a person is measuring the wine. We had that inspector in the marketplace. He sticks his hand into the wine, or he sticks a straw into the wine to measure it. He's doing it for a different kavana. So then even if he's touching it, but if we know that he did it for a different kavana, so then possibly it's mutter. So here he stuck his hand to get the esrei. What's the halach in this case? Amalu Ravashi. So Ravashi said that over here it could lead to a problem. So therefore what you should do is as follows. Naktu yodei, grab onto the guy's hand. It came to, I guess Ravashi was standing right over there as this is happening. I didn't. The guy's hand is still inside. And he grabbed onto the esrog. So Rav Ashi says, quickly grab the guy's hand. So the guy should not stir the wine. Then it'll be a problem. And not only that, that's not enough. Then tilt the barrel of wine until you'll empty the barrel so that the guy's hand should not be inside the wine anymore. And like this, you'll save the wine and you'll be able to at least not drink it, but at least be able to use it to sell.
But with him, he was going after the esrog.
Right, true, and Hanami. So Taisus here speaks about this, and the Rishonim, they explain that once he got hold of that esrog, now, so he got what he wanted. He got the esrog. But now, once his hand is in the wine, he may be thinking to himself that, I have the wine here, maybe I could use this for the sake of Avoda Zara. And he may agitate his hand for the sake of Avoda Zara. So therefore, you have to grab hold of his hand, pour out the wine, so his hand should be out of the Avoda Zara, or out of the wine, so it shouldn't be utilized for Avoda Zara. And Taisa says it's different than the case we had before regarding the person that stuck his hand into the goy, that stuck his hand into the wine to measure the wine. Because over there, he's measuring, and he's busy measuring, and he measures when he goes in, when his hand comes out, he's busy measuring. So we're not chayshish that he's going to think about Avoda Zara. Here though, once he has the esrog in his hand, so that's it. He's not thinking about the esrog anymore. It's in his hand already. So on his way out, we're concerned that he might have another kavana. And therefore you have to grab hold of his hand and pour out the wine, that there shouldn't be any issue. Yeah, okay. Dr. Gemara. Amar Ravashi. Ravashi said another halacha. Hai oive kechavim de nasche lechamra de Yisrael b'chavana. In a case where the guy was menasach the wine of a yid for Avoda Zara b'chavana. So this is yain nesach mamish. The guy took the wine, or he put his hands inside and agitated his hands, or he poured it b'chavana for Avoda Zara. So now it's also bahana. This is the real yain nesach, which is takrevis Avoda Zara. It's aser. Nevertheless, Rabashi says, "Afal gav delizvunei led kechavim achrine aser." So since it's aser bahana, you can't even sell it. You can't sell it to any guy. But nevertheless, shari le lemishkol dame me'ahu evi kechavim. You are allowed to take money, the value of this wine, from this guy itself, from this guy that just poured your wine for Avoda Zara. My time, why is this? Isn't it selling? You're selling this wine to this guy that just damaged your wine. So the reason is because mikla kalye. By the guy taking your wine and pouring it for Avoda Zara, it's like he destroyed it. He just burnt your wine. So let him pay you for the damage. When you're giving him the wine in exchange for him paying you for the value of the wine, you're not selling it to him. What's really happening is he's just paying you for the damage that he caused you. So that's allowed. That's not a hana from the wine by selling it, but it's just him paying for the damage that he did. Yeah, this is what's actually called in the Gemara in Gittin, when it speaks about this concept of yain nesach. This is what's referred to as hezek she'ein nicker. It's a kind of damage where you don't see a physical change in the wine itself as a result of this damage. And really, menatayre yapater, the payment for hezek she'ein nicker is all just midrabanan. So there's a machlekes rishonim regarding this case, whether the guy would have to pay even in a case where it was done b'sheigig, or only in a case where it was b'mezid. Okay, did the guy know that this wine belongs to you? Did he not know? Over here, the point is that to this guy itself, it's okay, it's allowed. He's paying you for the damage. Ravashi said, I'm in a law. What's the source of what I said here? The Tanya, because in Abraisa we learned a guy that was menasech the wine of a yid, and this is done not even in front of Avoda Zara. So he didn't even necessarily pour it. He's just stuck his hand into the wine. It was meshachshech. He agitated his hands for the sake of Avoda Zara. Asr. It's going to be asr as well. It doesn't have to be done in front of the Avoda Zara. It's going to be asr even bahana. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseire matirin. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseire both say that this wine is going to be mutter. Mishum shnei dvarim. And for two reasons they say it's mutter. Echad, one reason is she'ein menaschen yayin elo b'fnei avodas kechavim. Their opinion is the whole issue of yayin nesach is only when it's poured or it's done in front of the Avoda Zara. And the echad, another reason is because the guy is coming and doing this to the wine of a yid. He doesn't have a koyach to asa the wine of a yid. She'aymer loy, because the yid tells the guy, loy kole menach shetaseyeni loinsi. You can't come and asa my wine against my will. This is based on the concept that we had before in the Gemara that ein adam oiseh davish ein shaloi. A guy can't come and ask for the wine of a yid that doesn't belong to the guy. You can't ask for something that doesn't belong to you. So if the guy comes and sticks his hand to the wine of a yid, he's not going to ask for it. It's not his. Now, we don't paskin like this. The Gemara here a whole time before is saying that if a guy sticks his hand inside and is meshachshach, he will make it asa. So we don't paskin this way. So why don't we paskin this way? So the Rishonim explain, based on what we had before in the Gemara, that this concept of ein adam oiseh davar she'einu shaloi does not apply in a case where someone comes and makes a change, a physical change in your wine. So we had before an example when someone pours wine onto your behemoth, and now that there's one actual wine dripping on your behemoth. That's one example. And then there's a case where a person is just bowing down to the behemoth. If he bows down to your behemoth, he's not going to ask to your behemoth. But if he pours wine onto the behemoth itself, then he will make it asa. So here, according to the way we paskin, a guy that sticks his hands into the wine, it will make it asa, even though it doesn't belong to the guy. And it's lo'ain said, it says, what are you doing? Doesn't matter, because he's physically putting his hands into the wine, he's going to make it asa. That's the pshat in this machlokes here. Now, what's the point that Rav Ashi is proving from this brayse? Even though we don't paskin, like what Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira said, but nevertheless, what we see from here is that when a guy is doing something against the will of a yid, the yid is not interested in the guy damaging his wine, so even if it will become aser, but it's a damage. It's a damage that the guy caused the yid. It's not something that the yid wanted the guy to do. So this damage, if you are giving this wine then to the guy and saying to him, pay me now for the damage, at least that should be allowed. That's what Rav Ashi is proving here from what it says here in this brayse. Okay, Adkan.